I think it was important after I've done quite a few interviews now. Obviously, with rugby, we're doing a lot of interviews on a regular basis, whether it's leading into the games or after games, and then we've had quite a lot with the business over the last, certainly the last 12 months, last 18 months as we've expanded, and I just don't think you always can get the message across with social media and from writing blogs and all them sort of things, and you know we've had a conversation and decided let's try and get me on camera, and we'll see how this goes anyway.
Terrific, terrific. What are you most looking forward to? What do you think people are going to get out of seeing you on video?
Watching me being a bit uncomfortable right now, it's probably if they've got a bit of a laugh, but I think it just gives people an insight as to what some people are doing outside of sport as well, and certainly one of my driving forces is looking at other people who've been involved in sport and gone into business, and a lot of the time I think we're going to talk about it later, but sort of struggle to realise that actually there's a lot of things that we can take that we learn from sport and we can transfer that into business, such as being part of a team and work ethic and all that sort of stuff. So I also look for information on sports people that have gone on to business, and how they've done it and why they've been successful. Whether it be somebody that's played amateur sport or somebody that's played professional, I think it can be quite interesting, and hopefully if I can maybe inspire anybody else who's playing, certainly in rugby league, where, as I know firsthand, the game can end your career or very nearly end your career in one tackle, and I think it's so important. So if I can get the message across about how I'm doing it and the transition, and also the struggles that I'm having in business with no qualifications or anything like that, then maybe it can help somebody else. I think that's important.
You touched on something I was going to ask. You mentioned you had a big injury, and how did this affect your life?
Yeah, so it was well documented at the time, certainly locally, about double leg, so a double bone fracture, tib fib on my right leg in an academy game, and what people probably didn't realise at the time, it was sort of put out there in the press that it was a blood clot, and when it wasn't, it was a fat embolism, it's called, and it happens quite often when you break a long bone when you're younger, and that came off and came out during surgery, and as I was having my leg pinned from the break, that got stuck in my lungs and then turned to pneumonia, and but what I didn't realise at the time was I had a chest infection going into the academy game, and what I thought was flu at the time, and it ended up being a chest infection, and that obviously then with the fat embolism triggering off the chest infection, it turns to pneumonia, and then during surgery, stopped breathing, and was rushed into intensive care, and then that's when the sort of fun and games happened really, and I think it was 8 or 9 days on the breathing machine, and then it was an Irish doctor who came round, flipped me on my stomach. They were about to do an operation through my throat, flipped me on my stomach, and then within 24-48 hours I was on high dependency and then on the general ward, and I just sort of recovered like that, and it was a bit of a shocking time in terms of recovery after that, because as you can imagine, I think I was a lot bigger than I was now, so I must have been 18 stone, and to keep an 18 stone young lad asleep requires an awful amount of drugs, and some of the hallucinations off the back of these medication that they were keeping me on intensive care were quite vivid, and I almost can still now to this day see people that didn't exist, and and be on a certain bed on the ward that never existed, and it was a strange time, but a time where I had to sort of make a decision really, whereas you sort of let it affect your life or do you use it as fuel, and I've decided to use it as fuel, although it took me a long time to get my head around it, because I was scared a lot of the time, because of what happened, and every time I go and see the surgeon, he was actually he was an orthopaedic surgeon, and he specialises in back and neck issues, and I've had a few of them recently, and been to see him, and he always goes, you weren't supposed to be here, you're not supposed to be here, and it's always a nice reminder that things are actually okay.